So, Senator Kunesh, let's go to you with a question we have from a viewer about an education issue. Your status as as a retired educator earned you the privilege of answering this question first. This viewer is concerned about the status of the Page Amendment, which, of course, has been discussed at least a couple of sessions, I think. And maybe we can also talk about whether or not there might be some other constitutional amendments, because this is the year when you would expect those to be placed on the ballot for the voters to act on in November. But let's talk about the Page Amendment first. And not to put you on the spot, but I'm sure you've had some discussions with people. What do you think its chances are? Maybe tell our viewers a little bit about it if you can.
Well, the first thing I know is that um, Chair Chamberlain says no, and he is the chair of education, and therefore he will be the one that decides what gets heard and what doesn't get heard in our education committee. And I don't, from what I understand, he is not in favor of this amendment. And what this amendment does is basically is just changing the language. It's a constitutional amendment that will change the language that, if I could remember what our Constitution says. Our Constitution says it's our responsibility to provide, is it an adequate or a good
Right.
education, public education? And the amendment changes that word in a way that I don't really feel it makes any difference. Changing a constitutional amendment by changing a word to say, oh gosh, I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly what it is, but it is our responsibility as a legislature to provide the funds to educate our kids in a public education. And we have never adequately paid for, fully funded our education. And now here we have a surplus. So let's go ahead and do that. I think that there is good meaning and there's good discussion. I think the fact that the Page Amendment is really trying to get at the disparities within our students and our students of colors, but creating this amendment, I don't think is the answer. And I think we have an opportunity here and now to really look at how we can, I hate to say rebuild, but reimagine what we might, what a really good educational system looks like, and how we can really make a difference going forward, especially with this surplus, to really fully and uh, uh, intentionally create an educational system that is really centered on equity, not so much equality. And equity is not the same as equal. It means making sure that our students and our school districts are receiving the resources that they need in their unique district to create a really well-rounded educational system. In greater Minnesota, they struggle with the cost of transporting their kids, miles and miles and miles on buses, where in the Twin Cities, you don't have to have that problem. There's there's the special education subsidy, all these unfunded mandates that our school districts have had to deal with for so long. We have to stop doing that to our school districts, fully fund it, and make sure that the resources are going to be there for our students, especially coming out of this pandemic, when there's going to be a lot of variables, and trying to meet our students where they are.
Representative Lippert, your thoughts on the Page Amendment and any other constitutional amendments you think might be likely?
Sure. So I had a chance to look up the language quickly. And so I believe the language is every child deserves a fundamental right to a quality public education. And I think when Justice
The
Page
internet is
speaks,
certainly useful for some things here.
that's
Go ahead.
right. a little refresher of the memory. When Justice Page speaks, people listen, and so I think it's definitely sparked an important conversation. And the concern is racial equity, and Justice Page will be clear about that. He wants every child to have an excellent education, regardless of the color of their skin or where they live, and those are values shared um, by so many at the Capitol. I think the question is, is will this amendment help us accomplish what we desire for all children across Minnesota? And so there's a deep discussion about that, whether this is the best way to get to the outcomes we desire, if this might have some unintended consequences. More vouchers, more in some states, perhaps it's been a backdoor to vouchers. Concern about, for myself and others on in my caucus, we want to make sure that we're really investing in strengthening always our public education system. So that's been some of the context of the conversation as I've been participating in it. Um, I don't I don't know if that amendment's gaining traction this session. I think what to do with the $7.7 billion surplus, the best way to use that is what's kind of taking the air out of the room right now. And I haven't heard any other constitutional amendment conversations at this point in my circles in the House.
Senator Pratt.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a really hot topic. As Representative Lippert said, the language talks about uh, a quality education, a quality public education as a civil right, and I really like the idea that we're focusing on quality rather than the system. That's putting the kids first. The concern I hear from parents is the wording around public education and whether or not that allows for school choice. What does that mean for homeschool parents? What does that mean for private school students? It's and that's some of the concern that I'm hearing. School choice, when we talk about equity, school choice is maybe one of the best things that we can do. We've talked to parents in Minneapolis who would be able to move their kids if they had the means to do it. Somehow we allow school choice for families with the means to afford it, but for low and middle income families that can't, they don't have that same option. And I think that's immoral. I think every student should have access to a quality education that meets their needs, because not every student is meant to fit within the same system. And I say this as a son of a public school teacher and someone who is a public school advocate. I support our public school system. I served on the school board for 12 years. I'm not trying to undermine public schools at all. I'm trying to say that we need to be able to focus on the needs of the student first and making sure that they're successful in the classroom and making sure that we still have the ability to have parents and community involved. And one of the things that we've seen through the pandemic, and as we've seen this shift from in person to online to masking and not masking, is more parents are opting to homeschool or find private schools than they are the public option. And that's what makes this idea of choice within the Page Amendment so very important.
Representative Swedzinski, your thoughts? Page Amendment related issues.
Well, I kind of agree with some of the sentiments. I don't think the Page Amendment's going to probably get the traction it needs to kind of make it over the hurdle. I think the passion behind Mr. Page and his supporters is in the right direction, right? What do you do to close that achievement gap between folks of color and try to bring folks together? Because we all understand that building on strong foundation is the best possible way to build a building. Well, building a life on a strong education is one of the best things you can possibly do with your life. And being in a challenging robust educational system with strong standards, strong expectations, not just for students, but for educators. I think we've gotten away from that. I mean, I just read an article about a couple of weeks ago talking about how Mississippi who spends probably half of what we do here in the state of Minnesota on education, is actually finding success in closing the achievement gap with their urban students and the rest of the state. And so, what we need to be doing is, this might be a good chance for a very broad approach to say, is changing the Constitution going to fix it? But is allowing parents to have a say in the child's education, whether it's public, whether it's private, whether it's homeschool, and what does the state's role play in that? And I hear from a lot of parents. There was a Wisconsin state legislator just the other day saying, well, if parents really want to say in their education, they should just pull their kids out of public education and homeschool them, or send them to private school. Well, the parents I talk to do want to say. And it's unfortunate that the Department of Education, the National Association of School Boards, has labeled parents who want to have a say in their children's education, called them domestic terrorists. And that was approved by the Biden administration. And I have not heard a word of from Governor Walz and his ability to push back against that policy that they pushed forward falsely. But I think that's some of the things that we need to get to. How do parents get more engaged, and how do they actually engage in their students' lives to make it better? And it's not by shutting them out of school board meetings. It's not about a lot of those issues that we hear all about day in, day out. And the school, I know the teachers union is against the Page Amendment, and that should maybe tell you a lot. If you're stuck in an urban school that is failing, and you don't have the money to homeschool, and you don't have the money to send your child to private school, and you don't have the money to bus your child to Edina because they're already full, you like this amendment. You like an opportunity to challenge the system, because the system that exists, that is controlled by powerful interest groups, is failing kids. And we really need to challenge it and be willing to step out of our support base and push back against special interests for what's best for children across the state.